I did not know a person could be this tired and still be standing. 4 days. 4 days of double shifts, of the walk-in freezer and the mop bucket and the endless steaming plates. And in 4 days I had eaten one thing, half a rice ball a busboy pressed into my hand when no one was looking. My legs had stopped feeling like legs. They felt like water in the shape of legs. The kitchen lights of the Golden Crane restaurant swam over my head like white suns, and the roar of the dishwasher came to me from very far away, as if I were listening to it from the bottom of a well. My name is Amara Okoro. I came to Seoul from Lagos with one suitcase, a scholarship that fell through, and the stubborn belief that hard work is a language everyone understands. I was wrong about that last part. I was about to be very wrong about a great many things. I remember reaching for the steel counter to steady myself. I remember the edge of it under my palm, cold and slick, and then the floor tilted, the whole bright room folded sideways, and I felt myself going down. I did not hit the floor. An arm caught me, a hard arm, an arm like a beam of oak, and it lowered me down slowly instead of letting me fall, guiding me until I was sitting against the wall with my knees up. The whole kitchen had gone silent. You have to understand what that silence meant. That kitchen was never silent, yet in one heartbeat the shouting stopped, the clatter stopped, and 30 people who had never once looked at me were pressed against the far wall, staring, holding their breath. I lifted my eyes. He was kneeling in front of me. On the wet tile, in trousers that cost more than my year's wages, the most feared man in the city of Seoul was down on one knee before a fainting dishwasher. He had a bowl in his hands, a plain white bowl, and steam was rising off it and curling around his knuckles. His hands were covered in black ink, tattoos that ran up under his rolled white sleeves and disappeared, and more ink climbed the side of his neck. His face was the kind of face that made grown men look at their shoes. Hard jaw, light stubble, a faint pale line of an old scar running up through one eyebrow, and eyes so cold and so still they should have frightened me. They did not frighten me, not right then. Right then I was too far gone to be frightened. "Drink," he said. Just that, one word, in low, careful English, because he had heard somewhere that English was easier for me than Korean. He lifted a spoon of broth. He held it, waiting, close to my lips but not touching, patient in a way that did not match anything I had ever heard about him. The steam warmed my chin. My whole body leaned toward it without my permission. "I can hold it myself," I whispered. My pride was the last thing I owned, and it was speaking for me. "I know you can," he said. "Tonight you will not have to." And the Iron King of Seoul, the man whose name people would not say above a whisper, fed me broth from a spoon, one small, careful sip at a time, kneeling on a wet kitchen floor while the whole city's fear stood watching against the wall. I need to go back. You cannot understand that spoon until you understand the 4 days before it, and the weeks before those. Let me take you back. I had been at the Golden Crane for 2 months. It was owned, on paper, by a soft, round man named Mr. Beck, who smiled at the wealthy guests and turned into something else the moment the private doors closed. Beck had a talent for finding people with no choices, a visa that depended on the job, a family back home waiting on the money. He collected us like a man collecting leashes. He never paid me the full wage. The first week, he said there was a training deduction. The second week, a uniform fee I never agreed to. By the second month, he had a whole language of reasons, and every reason ended the same way, with my envelope thinner than it should have been, and his smile telling me to be grateful I had an envelope at all. "You people," he liked to say, drawing the words out, "you should be thanking me." Do you know how many would take this job? I learned to keep my eyes down and my mouth shut. Not because I had no words. I had plenty of words. I kept them shut because I needed the job the way a drowning person needs the next breath, and Bake knew it, and enjoyed knowing it. The night everything began, I had been on my feet 14 hours. A private party filled the back room, men in dark suits, the kind of party where the staff are told to serve and then vanish. I was carrying a tray of tea when Bakes caught my arm in the hallway and dug his fingers in. "The gold room," he hissed. "Say nothing. Pour, bow, leave. If you embarrass me in front of these men, you will not have a job or a visa by morning. Do you understand me?" I understood him. I understood him perfectly. I went into the gold room with my tray and my careful blank face, and that was the first time I saw him. He sat at the head of the table, and the difference between him and every other man there was the difference between a wall and the wallpaper on it. The others talked and laughed and postured. He did none of those things. He sat still, sleeves rolled to the elbow, forearms marked with ink, one hand resting flat on the table, and the whole room bent around his stillness like water around a stone. When he wanted more tea, he did not speak. He simply looked, and 3 men fell over themselves to reach for the pot. I poured, I bowed. I did not embarrass Mr. Beck, and as I turned to leave, I felt those cold eyes settle on me and stay. I told myself it meant nothing. Rich men look at the help the way they look at furniture. I was wrong about that too. I was wrong about almost everything in those early days, and being wrong nearly cost me my life. But that first night, all I knew was that a dangerous man had looked at me 1 second longer than furniture deserves, and my skin had prickled, and I had hurried out of the gold room fast enough that the tea shivered in the pot. "Who is he?" I asked Minjun later, the busboy, the one who had given me half his rice ball. Minjun went pale. "Don't," he said. "Don't ask. Don't look. Don't even think his name loud." He glanced at the door and lowered his voice until it was almost nothing. "They call him the Iron King. He owns half the things in this city that people are afraid of. Back pays him to be left alone. Everyone pays him to be left alone." He gripped my wrist. "Amara, people who get his attention do not stay lucky." I laughed because I was young and tired and had nothing left to lose that I could see. "Then I hope he forgets my face by morning." He did not forget my face. He came back the next night, and the next. Always the gold room, always alone at the head of the table, even when it was full, always still. And always, at some point in the evening, those eyes would find me across the room and rest there, and I would feel it like a hand laid flat between my shoulder blades. The 4th night, everything cracked open. I had gone almost 2 days without a real meal by then because Beck had docked my wages again over a broken plate that another server had dropped, and I had been too proud and too stubborn to beg for food. I was clearing the outer tables when Beck came at me, red-faced, waving a receipt. "You shortchanged table 9, he shouted, loud enough for the whole floor. "You stole from me. In front of guests, you stole." I had not. I knew I had not. But truth is a poor shield when the man holding the whip owns the story. He raised his hand. He had never actually struck me before, only threatened, but this time his palm went up and back, and the guests turned to watch, and I did the only thing my body knew how to do. I did not flinch away. I lifted my chin and looked him in the eye, because if he was going to hit me, he would do it to my face, and not to a bowed head. The blow never came. A voice cut across the floor, quiet, unhurried, and every sound in the restaurant died. "Bake?" Just the name. That was all he said. But Mr. Bake froze with his hand in the air, as if the air itself had turned to stone around his wrist. Slowly, so slowly, he turned. The Iron King had risen from his seat in the gold room and come to stand in the doorway, sleeves rolled, hands loose at his sides, and he was not looking at Beck at all. He was looking at me. Then, without hurry, he moved his eyes to Beck's raised hand and let them rest there. "Lower it," he said. Beck lowered it so fast he nearly hit himself. "The girl says she did not take anything." The king's voice never rose. It never needed to. "I watch table 9. I watch everything in a room I sit in. She took nothing." He took 1 step closer, and Bake took 1 step back, and the whole restaurant leaned away like grass in a wind. "You will pay her what you owe her. All of it, tonight. And you will never raise your hand near her again, or you and I will have a longer conversation than you would survive." The silence rang. Beck paid me. Every one he had shorted me for 2 months, counted out with shaking hands right there on the floor, while the guests pretended to look at their plates. I stood holding more money than I had seen since Lagos, and I did not feel triumph. I felt something colder and stranger. I felt seen. For the first time in this whole cold, bright city, someone had looked at what was happening to me and said no. He walked back to the gold room without another word. I did not thank him. I did not know how. But as he passed me, close enough that I caught the clean, sharp scent of him, he paused, only for a breath, and said very low so only I could hear, "What is your name?" "Amara," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Amara Okoro." "Amara," he repeated, as if setting it somewhere safe. "You should eat something. You are running yourself into the ground." And then he was gone, and I stood there with my full envelope and my emptier stomach, and I told myself that a dangerous man knowing my name was a very bad thing. I still believe it was. I simply no longer believe it was only a bad thing. He came back the next night, and something had changed. He did not stay in the gold room. When my shift ended near 2 in the morning and I stepped out into the cold to walk to the bus that no longer ran, a black car was waiting at the curb, engine quiet. The back window came down. He was inside. "It is not safe to walk at this hour," he said. "Let me take you home." Every warning Minjun had given me screamed in my ears. I got in anyway. "I want to be honest with you, because you have come this far with me." I did not get in because I was foolish. I got in because in 2 cold months he was the first person in Seoul who had asked instead of ordered. The car was warm. He sat with a careful distance between us, hands folded, and he did not fill the silence with the things men usually fill silence with. When we reached my building, a narrow room above a laundry, he did not ask to come up. He only said, "Eat before you sleep. Promise me." "Why do you care whether I eat?" I asked. It came out sharper than I meant. For a long moment he looked at his own tattooed hands. "Because," he said finally, "I have spent a long time in rooms where no one eats until I say so. It is a small thing, to make sure one person does." He looked up. "Good night, Amara." That was the beginning of the strangest, gentlest season of my life. He never pushed. He never grabbed. The man the whole city called Iron would sit across a tiny table from me in a closed noodle shop at 3 in the morning and pour my tea before his own. Once my shoelace came undone as we walked, and he was down on one knee to tie it before I could bend, and I stared at the top of his dark head, at the ink on the back of his neck, and I could not make the picture fit. The most feared man in Seoul, kneeling on a wet pavement to tie a dishwasher's shoe. "People would faint if they saw this," I said. "People see what I let them see." He finished the knot and looked up at me, and his hard face was doing something I had no name for. "To the world I am one thing, Amara. It is a thing I built on purpose, and I do not apologize for it. But a man is allowed one place where he is something else, one person he answers to." End quote. He rose. "I have never had that place before. I have never had that person. I should have run. A wiser woman would have run. Instead, I let him walk me home, and at my door, I turned and did the thing I had told myself I would never do. I let myself hope. The nights folded into weeks after that, and each one taught me something new about the man the city feared. I learned that he could not sleep before dawn, that he read old books in 3 languages, that under the ink and the stillness there was a mind that never once stopped measuring the room. I learned that he had a temper, though I never saw it turned on me. Once, in the little noodle shop, a drunk man at the next table said something ugly about my skin, loud enough that the whole shop went quiet. The king did not raise his voice. He did not raise his hand. He simply turned his head and looked at the man, and let the look sit there, and the man went white and left money on the table and fled into the night without his coat. "You did not have to do that," I said, though my heart was pounding. "I did nothing," he said, and picked up his chopsticks. A man decided on his own that he did not want to be in this room. That is his choice. But I saw the way his jaw had tightened, and I understood that somewhere behind that cold face, a fire had lit and been banked again by force of will, and that the fire had lit for me. I asked him once why he came to me at all. You could have anyone in this city too frightened to say no, I said. Why a woman who has nothing, who cannot even afford to eat some nights? He was quiet for a long time. Because you looked back in the eye, he said finally, when he raised his hand. Everyone in that room looked away. You lifted your chin. Do you know how long it has been since I saw someone refuse to bow who had every reason to? He looked at his own inked hands. I have spent 20 years surrounded by people who bow. You are the first person in longer than I can remember who made me want to be the one who kneels. I did not have an answer for that. I only knew that when he said it, the last of my careful walls came down, and I stopped pretending to myself that this was a passing strange thing, and let it become the center of my whole tired life. Which brings me back to the broth. It was the fourth night of the worst week, the week I told you about at the start. Back had been careful with his hands since the king's warning, but he had found other cruelties, longer shifts, meaner words, and I had been too proud to tell anyone I had run out of money for food after sending most of it home to my mother. So I worked, and I did not eat, and on the fourth night my body finally said enough, and the floor tilted, and I went down. And he caught me, and he knelt, and he fed me broth from a spoon, one careful sip at a time, while the whole kitchen stared. When I could speak again, when the warmth had spread through me and the room had stopped swimming, I whispered, "How did you know? I never told you I had no money for food." He set the bowl down and took my cold hand between his two warm inked ones. There on the floor, not caring who saw. "I have watched over you longer than you know, Amara. Before Beckett's restaurant, before you knew my face." He said it quietly, and there was something under the words, some deeper thing not yet spoken. I do not do this out of pity. Understand me. I have knelt for no one in 20 years. I do not kneel because you are weak. I kneel because to me you are worth kneeling for. That is the whole of it. I began to cry then, quietly, and he did not tell me to stop. He simply held my hand and let me, and the Golden Crane's kitchen staff crept away one by one until it was only the two of us, and the cooling broth, and a truth I was not ready to hold. "Why me?" I asked again, when I could speak. "You could have sent someone. You could have left money in an envelope. You did not have to kneel on this dirty floor and feed me like a child." "I could have sent someone," he agreed. "I have sent someone 100 times, for 100 people. It costs me nothing to send someone." He wiped the corner of my eye with his thumb, and his hand, which had done things I did not want to imagine, was as gentle as anything I had ever felt. "I am here myself because there is a difference between helping a person and honoring one. Anyone can be helped from a distance. Only someone who matters is worth crossing a room to kneel for." He picked the bowl back up. "Now, 3 more spoons, and then I take you somewhere warm, and you sleep, and tomorrow you do not come back to this place. Not ever." I did not argue. For the first time in a very long time, I let someone take care of me, and I did not feel weak for it. I felt, strangely, like the strongest I had ever been. I should have asked him what he meant. Before Bake's restaurant, before you knew my face. I should have pulled that thread that very night. But I was warm for the first time in days, and cared for the first time in longer than that, and I let the thread lie. That was my mistake, because while I let myself be happy, other people were pulling threads of their own. I did not know that Mr. Beck had not forgiven the humiliation of counting out my wages on the floor. I did not know that a smiling investor named Mr. Han had been at that gold room table on the first night, watching the king watch me, and had gone home turning a plan over in his mind. Han was one of the men the Iron King had spent his life keeping in check, one of the ones who wanted his territory, his power, the fear that belonged to his name. Han had tried force before and lost. Now he had found something better. He had found me. "He has a weakness now," Han told Beck, in a room I only heard about much later. "In 20 years he has never had one. A man with no weakness cannot be moved. But a man who kneels for a dishwasher?" He smiled his smile. "You do not attack such a man. You attack the thing he kneels for. You make the city hate her. You make him choose between her and everything he has built. And then, whichever he chooses, he loses." Beck, who had his own reasons to want me gone, agreed happily. And so the trap was laid, and I walked into it because I did not know it was there. It began with a locked ledger. The Golden Crane, like many of Beck's businesses, kept 2 sets of books, and one of them recorded money that no honest taxman would ever see. One morning the police came, not the ordinary police, but a special unit, and they came with a warrant and a name, and the name they carried was mine. There were papers. My signature was on all of them, a signature I had never made so well I could barely tell it from my own hand. There were records showing money moved through an account in my name, an account I had never opened. There was a ledger with my initials on every damning page. And there was Mr. Han, standing very sadly to one side, telling the officers what a shame it was, how he had trusted the girl, how these things happen when you let strangers into your business. They arrested me in the alley behind the restaurant, in front of Minjun, in front of the whole staff, and the story went out into the city faster than any truth could chase it. The foreign girl, the one the Iron King favored. She had been stealing all along, using him, laundering money behind his back, playing the whole city for fools. By nightfall, my face was on the news beside words like fraud and syndicate and betrayal, and the same people who had never looked at me now knew my face and hated it. I sat in a cold gray room and told the truth over and over and watched it bounce off the walls. I did not sign these. I did not open this account. I have never seen this ledger. And every time, they slid another paper across the table with my name signed on it in a hand almost exactly like mine, and every time, I understood a little more completely how thoroughly I had been buried. They kept me in that room for hours. Minjun, the busboy, tried to speak for me, tried to tell them I had never touched the books, that I could barely read the Korean in them, and they thanked him and sent him away, and it changed nothing. My mother called from Lagos, her voice thin with fear across all those miles, asking me what the news was saying, whether it was true, and I could not make my own voice steady enough to comfort her. That was the lowest moment. Lower even than the kitchen floor. On the floor I had only been hungry. In that room I was hated, and my mother was frightened, and I could not reach either of them. Think carefully, the investigator said, sliding one more page across. A woman like you, alone in a foreign country, no family here, no money, who would do all of this for you? Who would build accounts, move money, take these risks? You did not do this alone. Give us the one who did, and you walk out that door tonight. I looked at the page. My signature stared back at me, perfect and false, and I understood at last what the whole trap was for. It was never about jailing me. It was a door with my name painted on it, built for one man to walk through. You understand how this looks, the investigator said, not unkindly. The evidence is overwhelming. The only thing that would help you now is a name. Give us his name, tell us what he did, and this all becomes his problem instead of yours. They wanted the king. That was the whole point. I was only the crowbar they meant to pry him open with. He never did anything but feed me when I was hungry, I said. That is the only crime he is guilty of, being kind to me. They did not believe me. Why would they? The papers were perfect. Han had spent real money and real skill to make them perfect. I do not know how he found out so fast. I only know that on the second night, when the guards changed shift, a lawyer I had never met arrived and said he had been sent, and behind the lawyer, in the gray hall, I saw a white shirt and rolled sleeves, and I nearly wept with the relief and the terror of it, because if he came for me, they would take him, and taking him was the entire trap. They let me see him for 5 minutes. He stood on the other side of the glass and pressed one inked hand flat against it, and I pressed mine to match, small and dark against his. Don't, I said before he could speak. Whatever you are about to do, don't. This is what they want. Han wants you to come for me. If you clear me, you have to show them everything, don't you? You have to open all of it. You told me you built your whole self to be one thing so the world could never reach the other. If you save me, you tear it all down. Let me find another way, please. He looked at me for a long moment through the glass, and his hard face was steady, and his cold eyes were not cold at all. "Amara," he said, "listen to me. Everything I built to have power. And what is power for if not this? If I have all of it, and I cannot use it to save the one person I would kneel for, then it was never worth anything. It was always meant for this moment. I just did not know your name yet when I started building it." "You will lose everything," I whispered. "I will lose things," he agreed. "Not everything. Everything is on your side of the glass." And then he told me who he really was. He was not, it turned out, only a criminal. 20 years ago, he had been something else, a young officer in a unit meant to fight men like Han, and Han had murdered his mentor and framed the crime on the very people they were sworn to protect, and buried it so deep that no honest law could ever reach it. So the young officer had done a terrible, deliberate thing. He had gone into the dark himself. He had built an empire of fear from the inside, not to rule the shadow world, but to hold a knife to its throat from within, keeping men like Han from ever getting the free rein they hungered for. Every terrible thing his name meant, he had built as a cage around worse men, and for 20 years he had waited, gathering proof he could never use without exposing himself, of every crime Han had ever committed, including the forgery that now buried me. "The moment I bring that proof into the light," he said, "I end the king. They will know what I truly am, and a man who cannot be feared, cannot rule the dark, and everything I hold in check comes loose. That is the price. Han knows I have always been unwilling to pay it. He built this trap knowing I would rather rule in shadow than burn my empire down." He pressed his hand harder to the glass. "He was right about me for 20 years. He is wrong about me tonight, because he did not know that one day I would meet you." I did not understand yet why he kept saying it. "Before you knew my face, one day I would meet you," as if our meeting had been written somewhere before it happened. He told me the second truth. Then, the one I truly had not seen coming. "Your father," he said, "was the man Han murdered. My mentor. The officer who taught me everything and died for it. His name was cleared to no one, Amara, because clearing it would have meant opening the same door I have kept shut for 20 years. Your mother took you home to Lagos when you were a baby. She never told you what he was or how he died. But I promised him, over his body, that I would watch over his child if she ever came into my reach." His voice did not break, but it came very close. And then one night, a starving girl walked into a gold room with a tray of tea, and I heard the name Okoro, and I knew. "I have been watching over you since your first week in this city, not out of duty, that is how it began. It did not stay duty for very long. A classic car in a movie can be as unforgettable. I sat on my side of the glass, and the whole shape of my life rearranged itself in silence. My father, who my mother would never speak of. The reason we had no money, and no explanation, and no grave to visit. Han had taken him from me before I could walk, and now Han had reached across 20 years to take me too, using the very man who had sworn to protect me as the lever. And the man on the other side of the glass was about to burn down everything he was to undo it. Then we do it together," I said. "Not you falling on the blade for me. Together. Tell me what you need." For the first time since I had known him, the Iron King smiled. It was a small, tired, human thing, and it changed his hard face completely. "Spoken," he said, "like your father's daughter." What happened next? The whole city watched, because we made sure the whole city watched. Han's mistake was that his trap depended on the story staying secret and the king staying silent. So we gave him the opposite. The lawyer requested a public hearing, an open review of the evidence against me, and Han, arrogant, certain his forgeries were flawless, agreed, because he wanted to see me destroyed in the open. He wanted the king in the audience, watching, helpless, choosing his empire over the girl. The king came, but he did not come to watch. I stood before the panel, and before the cameras, and before all of Seoul, and I told the truth of the forged signatures, and it would have meant nothing, because the papers were perfect. And then a man in a white shirt with rolled sleeves rose in the gallery, and a murmur ran through the room like a cold wind, because everyone knew that face, even if no one had ever dared say the name. He walked to the front, and he laid down 20 years. He laid down the real ledgers, the ones behind Han's forgeries, showing whose hand truly moved the money. He laid down records of the forger Han had hired, paid to copy my signature, who now, faced with the king himself, would rather confess than face what silence would cost him. He laid down the old buried file, the murder of an honest officer named Okoro 20 years gone, and the frame Han had built over it, and he stood in the open light and named himself, not as the Iron King, as the officer who had gone into the dark to trap the man he could not catch in the light, and who was now, at last, willing to come back out of it. The room came apart. Han was on his feet, shouting that it was a lie, that this was the confession of a criminal, that nothing a monster like the king said could be trusted. And for one terrible moment, I thought the story might hold, because he was right that the king had spent 20 years making himself impossible to believe. But the forger spoke, and the ledgers matched, and the buried file, once opened, could not be closed again, and it named Han in my father's death in ink 20 years old, that no one could forge after the fact. Piece by piece, in front of the cameras, in front of the city that had hated my face by nightfall, the trap turned inside out and closed on the man who set it. They took Mr. Han out through the front, in the light, in front of everyone, the way he had taken me out through the alley in the dark. As they walked him past me, he stopped, and for one moment the smile was gone and something raw and hateful looked out of his eyes. "You are exactly like your father," he said, low, meant to wound. He would not bow either. Look what it cost him. "He did not bow," I said, "and here I am. Look what that cost you." He had no answer for that. They took him out into the light, and Bake went behind him, sputtering excuses that no one was listening to, still trying to charm a room that had finally seen his true face. And I stood in the middle of the storm and watched the man who had murdered my father and buried my name and reached across 20 years to bury me finally fall in the open, where everyone could see. The city that had hated my face by nightfall spent the next days learning it had been wrong. The same news that had called me a thief now called me a victim, and then, when the whole shape of the story came out, something closer to a symbol. I did not want to be a symbol. I had never wanted anything but a fair wage and enough to eat, and my mother's voice to sound calm again. But I learned that when you refuse to bow, sometimes the whole city has to rearrange itself around the space where you stood your ground. The king fell too, in his way. That is the honest ending, and I will not lie to you and pretend he walked away untouched. The moment he named himself, the Iron King was finished. His empire of fear could not survive a man who had chosen a starving girl over its throne. He gave up the shadow that had kept him safe for 20 years. He faced his own reckoning for the years he had spent in the dark, and it was not nothing, and I sat in every hearing and did not once look away from him, because he had not once looked away from me. But here's the thing the panels and the cameras never fully understood. He was not losing everything. He had said it to me through the glass, and he had been right. Everything was on my side. That was almost a year ago now. I want to tell you where I am as I say this to you, because it is not a courtroom or a kitchen full of fear. It is a small apartment with a window that gets the morning sun, above a quiet street where the vegetable seller knows my name and says it right. There is a stove, and on the stove there is a pot, and in the pot there is broth, because we have made a small private joke of broth, the two of us, and neither of us will ever explain it to anyone else. He is at the counter with his sleeves rolled up, the ink still dark on his forearms, the old scar still pale through his eyebrow. His face is still hard when he walks out into the world, because some things a man does not unlearn, and he does not pretend to be soft for anyone. He does not need to be feared anymore, and I think it is the greatest relief of his life to set that down. But he is still the most formidable man in any room he enters. He simply comes home to one kitchen and one woman, and at that counter, only there, the hardness leaves his eyes. This morning he set a bowl in front of me before he made his own. He always does. Once, near the start, I told him he did not have to kneel for me anymore, that the trap was gone and the danger was over, and he had nothing left to prove. He looked at me the way he looked at me that first night on the wet kitchen floor. "You still do not understand," he said, and there was almost laughter in it. "I never knelt to prove anything. I never knelt because you were in danger. I knelt because it is the truth of what you are to me, and the truth does not end when the danger does." He set the spoon by my hand. "To the whole world I will always be one thing, but a man is allowed one place where he is something else. You are my one place, Amara. You have been since before you knew my face. You will be after everyone has forgotten it. I am Amara Okoro. I came to this city with one suitcase and a wrong idea about how the world works. I nearly starved to death on a kitchen floor, hated by a whole city, framed by the man who murdered my father. And the most feared man in Seoul knelt down in the wreckage of everything he had built and picked up a spoon and chose me. If you have come this far with me, then you already know this is not the end of the story. There is more I have not told you yet, about the year we have had since, and the people from his old life who have not forgotten his name, and one visitor who came to our door last month with a name I recognized and a warning I did not want to hear. Stay with me. Subscribe, and I will tell you what happened when the past came knocking on the door of our small, quiet kitchen, and what the Iron King did when someone threatened the one place on earth he still kneels.